So we're aware of what we're doing and we're aware of how we can change our behaviours and take our stuff seriously.
Absolutely. You know, absolutely, Goddess?
That's his business. What I was going to say, like my sister was saying, was I think a lot of people don't even try to reverse their subconscious or try to feed new thoughts, or as they try to do inception, you know, to themselves, and they kind of just think what they know is what they know and that is the truth. And a lot of people don't want to recognise that that isn't the truth and go along trying to find out what their truth is. And I think black people are not being comfortable about talking about things that are negative or that white people have done, especially like myself at work. You know, I would notice when a black white person will say something, they say, not that I'm being racist, and we know they are, and you kind of say, oh, no, it's alright, don't worry, no, it's alright, but it's not alright. And I think unless you address that every time, and I think a lot of the time white people don't address it because they fear for their jobs, they fear about consequence, you know, they know that white people like to go behind your back and sabotage you and all of a sudden you haven't got a job, but it was smiling with you yesterday. And I think that's where they fear, but we've got to stand up against things like that, you understand? We can't let the way that they behave stop us living, existing and still growing with the people.
I mean, it's fantastic.
Sorry, I need to say something. Sitting here has been bugging me. We talked about education, we talked about empowerment. I think a lot of times I think it comes down to education and how we educate our children from setting the foundation. And my son is 3, West Indian heritage, and he speaks 2 languages at 3 because it's my responsibility to teach him about his foundation and his roots. And until we as black people educate our own, we're not going to move forward. At what point do we stop blaming when it should be done from home? And I think education is the key to empowerment. I was always taught from my parents, if you want to be somebody, you've got to wake up and pay attention. At what point do we do that? When we keep blaming the white man, at what point do we take responsibility for educating our own masses? So it's my job as a parent to educate my son, to make sure he understands where he's going and what his future is. So he speaks 2 languages at 3, but he also knows about Black History Month, what my culture says, and what is it he's going to be. Because every day he has 1 hour learning session with me, but everything he has to learn. And that's my responsibility. So I'm not blaming the white man. I'm educating myself to make sure I educate him.
Do you know, sis? That's beautiful. I mean, again, on so many levels. I mean, you said it. But you know, you said one thing I noticed. You said, my parents told you. Now I'm going to tell you something about my parents. They didn't tell me. I kind of had to find this myself. Obviously, I was in a home where I was in a black family. My parents were Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, in fact, my mum was a Jehovah's Witness. My dad didn't really care too less. So basically, I grew up with the Bible book of stories, fling it all over, and there was every image was white. So I didn't have that. You see what I'm saying? So again, who do I blame? Do I blame my mum? Or do I blame now my grandmum or my grandmother that came over here, and because she was so, I can explain it, shook, because like I said, my mother's mum's from Nigeria. So when my parent nan come over, due to condition, due to what British rule had done to them, it was not about explaining about their condition. They had to just get along with it, go and get a job. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I 100% understand and hear where you're coming from. And what I'm saying, I think we're at an age now where us in the room and, well, the people more conscious are here, and that's why they're here, because they care about it. But what I notice is that there's a lot out there that had parents like mine, do you understand? And now they've gone with the system. So they're the kind of black people, if you want to call them that will be against what you say. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
I understand to a certain degree, but at what point do you stop blaming and educate yourself? Because we keep saying, the next man did, the next man has said, but as adults, we evolve, your life evolves, you learn, there's tools to educate yourself. At what point do you educate yourself? You know your history, there's information available, there's networks like this. At what point do you stand and say, I belong to a race, I want to know about my race. It's not about saying the next man's supposed to tell me, the information is here, I came here today to educate myself. The next person sitting next to me came to educate yourself. So am I still going to blame the person outside for not knowing? When the information is there.
That's my point though, isn't it? Like, so again, you know.
Go on, brother. Sorry. I think most of it is actually about us feeling uncomfortable. People feel uncomfortable with our condition, and so they're uncomfortable to talk about it, uncomfortable to address it. When you hear someone talking about slavery and stuff, I hear talk like, why we got to talk about that? People don't realise that that's a wider system. So I mean that the impact of slavery and the impact of certain things that happened in Africa and things like that impact on us now. So what happens is, when we hear certain things, it's easier to laugh at it than to think, right, I'm going to be solution focused and try and find a way to overcome this or try and deal with this situation. Therefore, it's easier to make something jovial and have fun with it, as opposed to think, right, my people's getting distressed here really, and they're taking a piss out of us. So we need to try and move forward, come together, and because one thing I think Xavier said just now, when we're together, these people are scared. And I've said this before, I saw myself on a video the other day and I said it on the video the other day. We can't get a plane from Africa to the West Indies. You see what I'm saying? When we come together, these people are in trouble and they know that. So when we talk about Asians and Chinese and what, we can talk about these people and that's all right. But try and know that the way and they've moved forward in their struggles, ours is a lot harder than that. It's been a lot harder than that. And when you look through history, no one has been oppressed like Black folk have been oppressed. No person. So when we're moving forward, we have to know that, forget about the Asians, forget about Chinese people, we have to find our own program. You understand? Because our struggle is totally different.
While he's talking, I was going to say something. Yeah, I was just going to say real quickly, just answering what the sister said.
Hello.
Just answering what the sister behind me said. I think if you're not conscious, then you can't even make that decision to move to where you're already at with your child. All right? Most people, I think, are quite isolated in thought and already caught in the system. So the education that you're kind of like 2 steps forward, like in a minority almost. So it's almost kind of hard for people to take responsibility because they don't even know the responsibility. They think they're you know, that the infrastructure is responsible for them and their children, when really it is them, but they're not even thinking like that. You know, so I mean, I applaud you, but just remember the rest of us, or not us, but people are not thinking like that. So,
Sorry, sir. You know the other.
Yeah, bless one too. Yeah, I just want to say, I think a lot of the times as African people, we make a lot of statements, and generally there's not a basic level of understanding regarding what we actually went through. And I think that we never really, you can't solve a problem unless you understand it from its root cause. You get me? You can't address the symptoms. Like if you've got a cold, like, you know, or a headache and everything there, and you take your aspirin for the headache, then the headache will go away. But if the headache's caused by a brain tumor, it's going to keep coming back, it's going to eventually kill you. Yeah? So when we talk about what was actually done to us here, we have to understand is that all these things that we're talking about in terms of our self-hatred, in terms of how we look at our physical features, in terms of us rejecting our culture, our own spirituality, was a systematic process. It wasn't something that happened overnight. You're talking about thousands of years of invasion, hundreds of years of slavery to rip a people out of their entire culture. Everything that made them what they were, what the language that they spoke, the God that they worshipped, the food that they ate, you know, the way they went to sleep at night, who they went to sleep with at night, how they went to sleep at night, how they got up in the morning, how them walk, how them talk, how them think, how them act. Everything was ripped away from us. And so when we're talking about, you know, laughing and so on and so forth, it's like sometimes you have to think to yourself, rah, I was that stupid, carotid. Like, I thought I was really that ugly, you know what I mean? You go through these things. So it's like, we have to, before we even begin to talk about how we can solve the problem, we have to really fully understand what we're actually dealing with. We went through we're going through a process now of reversing thousands of years of indoctrination and oppression. It ain't gonna happen overnight. Yeah? And that's a point on blaming the white man. As far as I'm concerned, blaming just with all due respect, because one thing that Shay always says here, we're all here to learn, innit? So I'm a passionate individual, so I speak with passion. So don't take it as anger, it's just passion, you get me, yeah? But the reality is, as far as I'm concerned, blaming the white man is a part of taking responsibility. Because we're not talking about anything that he didn't do. Him do it, yeah? And all we're saying is that him do it, and he's continuing to do it. So for example, Xavier earlier talked about, you know, us not coming together and so on and so forth. The fact of the matter is, whenever we did come together, they had systems in place to break us apart again. So you go to Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah exiled, yeah? Lumumba assassinated. Thomas Sankara, Secretary, all these people were killed. These are good people that came and unified us. You know what I'm saying? Malcolm X assassinated. Yeah, all these things. Whenever we come together, and do something, there are systems in place to break us apart again. And next process again. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so we have to understand all these things. So yeah, we have to take responsibility, but as Shay was alluding to the fact that if we're ripped away so far from what we are, many of us for generations have not had that. So it takes a collective initiative to be able to institutionalize that properly. And congratulations for what you're doing for your child. But your child, what you're doing for your child is a template for what we need to be doing with our children. It's not gonna happen if we're doing it one, you in your yard, you in your yard. Because I was taught as well. I don't speak an African language, but I was very much raised to know that I was an African, if you understand what I'm saying, and know that it was important.
Insulting blacks became